Hello.
Yes, hello. We're recording that
We
lovely.
are. Apparently, we're recording this. Hi, Nancy Jean.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, it's early in the morning and you look good. I
Yes.
mean,
I got up a little bit early,
on your week off, good girl.
yes, and I'm very excited about the show we're doing and the
Mhm.
conversation we are about to have. I know people, when I do readings, they're wondering, a lot of them have the question, what am I supposed to be doing with the rest of my life? They're feeling a change coming, right? Uh, to me, it's all part of the ascension, what's
Mhm.
happening. And I know I'm going through some stuff, as are you, right? We
Right.
all are on this course of ascension and we're all at different levels. So that's kind of what we want to talk about. I mean, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, but the levels and
Hmm.
what it all means and maybe some of our experiences.
Yep. Well, I'd never even heard the word ascension. I knew Jack about this, and I've been kicking around this world for a long time. But in 2018, I went to Colorado and I was visiting with a good friend of mine. She'd been one of my best friends down here. She'd moved there. And we were just taking a kind of freewheeling weekend up there. And it was I know exactly when I heard about the Ascension. It was between coming back from the Stanley Hotel and going to Denver back to her house. And we had a whole week of hunting through the rock shops and going to see Radley Valentine and looking at all the stuff that I love to play with. And that's the weekend when I saw the crystal grid. And I think this is all part of the same thing. But she starts telling me about the Ascension. Now, mind you, we're driving on mountain roads that go, I live in Texas where our roads go this one. And so I'm like paying no attention to because I can't stand windy roads. And I'm almost falling asleep. And she starts saying, oh, I've been at these new age workshops and I've been hearing about this thing called the Ascension. And she starts telling me, and there's 3, 4, and 5. And in my poor little pea brain that was trying to not realize it was on a weaving road, I saw like this elevator and we're all getting jammed in on the third. We're going up to the fourth. Most people don't stay there too long. Then we're going to go to the fifth, and God knows what happens up there. And so then I asked her later in the weekend about it a little bit. I said, I think I'm a little foggy about this. And she said, oh, well, it's just, everything's changing and people are ascending. And I said, okay, ascending, I think of the ascension, all those Christ pictures where there's clouds under his feet and little angels dragging him to heaven. That's what I thought of as the ascension. And I'm really glad Andrea asked me to look at this because within a couple months of my trip to Denver, I used to read in a wine bar, and I used to read tarot in a wine bar. And 4 weeks in a row on a Tuesday night, just totally different groups of people came up to my table, and I'd be doing a reading, and then they'd lean across the table and go, "What do you know about the Ascension?" And I'm going, "I don't know, Jack. I know about tarot. I don't know about crystals. I don't know anything about this." I mean, really, it was just like, get away from me. I don't want to know about this. But and I didn't realize this. What that was actually angels showing up saying, "You need to know about this girl," and that is actually one of the steps in the ascension. But I've never really taken a hard look at all the steps until I started channeling the garden. And I'll let you go back and see my garden shows to hear about that. But I was working with an Akashic Records expert, and he said, "Well, it's because you're going 5D all the time." And I had started at that point writing down little things in my phone when I woke up in the morning. And what I woke up to was a little teeny bopper girl voice singing, "You're a you're a 5D girl in a 3D world." And then this guy said it, and I went, "Oh God, I wish these things." I don't understand it. So I love Andre for asking me to look at this, because what I found out is there's some interesting good material now where people are talking about the ascension, including one really interesting article. It's on YouTube. If you YouTube personal ascension, if you YouTube ascension, you're going to see a lot of pictures of Christ. If you put personal ascension, or 3D and 5D, but I found this one that said that those who like look at it in astrologic terms and stuff, they said this process goes from 1950 to 2070. Well, I know I won't make 2070, I don't think, unless it
You
really
never
works.
know.
Unless it really works like they say. But I was born in 1949, so I was 6 months early. And when I started looking back at my life and looking at what it's like to be in the duality of the 3D, and I think Andrea and I are going to go over this, and then not that many people write about 4D, but I find that the most interesting place because that's where we're integrating all this information. And then I've been told by Akashic Records and a couple masters and a couple of people who actually just reached out to me to tell me the angels tell you, they keep trying to tell you and you won't listen, but you're doing 5D in your dreams and how to handle that. And that's kind of a whole nother thing. But
you personally or other people are also doing 5D in the dream?
people can do it. I mean, I'm doing it because I have something that's coming back that they very much want here. And so they want me to know what I'm doing, and they wanted me to know this in line with the Ascension. So it's like no avoiding this topic anymore for you, lady.
So why don't we go over
What
the
3D
levels
is?
that we know of? So, 1D, I think it's like the consciousness of like a rock. Very,
It's there.
yeah.
But my crystals have a lot of good conscience, so don't rely on it.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying like a stone, like a regular stone, or
Like a lump of something.
yeah. And then like 2D would be sort of where you have your animals. Not to say that animals can't go higher, but they kind of live in a 2D understanding of things.
I think when you're talking the D, you're talking about your normal conscious awareness.
Yes. Yeah. Then we go to 3D, which is the general population right now. We are all in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us got a foot in 4, 5, who knows? So 3D is an understanding of you, yourself, other things around you, how things work on a practical level.
Well, it's ego-based. Your identity's ego-based. You have separate consciousness. This is one of those things when people say to us when we're readers, well, remember when you told me and we don't? It's because our consciousness are somewhat separated. Our higher reading mind does not stay connected into this world all the time.
That's right.
Love is very conditional. Love is completely transactional in 3D. Seeing is believing. If I can touch it, logical thinking, seeing, and this is the part that gets me, and I think we're seeing this in spades right now, seeing the duality. It's black, it's white, it's liberal, it's conservative, it's
separation.
And you have your thought, and you don't have there's no other reality than the little one you're creating.
So that's 3D. When you 3D things are separate.
Denser energy. In other words, it's much harder to manifest something in if you keep most of your energy in the 3D world. Your mind rules everything. It's not your heart. And even though we know there's a larger energy field around your heart, there's several good documentaries on YouTube about it. But when they scan your whole body, the energy out of the heart chakra is much wider than the energy out of the head. And there's actually what they call the second heart on people. It's ganglions. And when people say, well, I felt it in my gut, what you felt it was in that heart. It processes information. Chaos, randomness, and unfairness are all 3D.
All 3D, yeah.
And the biggest part of the 3D mindset is scarcity. The 5 of Cups, that I have to, I can look at what I've lost. I can't look at what I have. There's no growing the pie. I got my piece of the pie and you can't have any of it.
Yeah. So very primal thoughts. Then the 4D is where you start to expand and realize it's more than just you. That we're all connected. There is no divide. It's bigger thinking. And I think a lot of people are starting to feel that.
Right.
They're starting to say, oh, and that's why they're saying, you know, the question of what should I do with the rest of my life is stemming from that feeling that you're more than just you and your individual, what do I have? It's that calling to be part of and give to the rest.
Yeah, and what happens is when people get to that point and they do give away and they do let go, the peace that sweeps over you is the beginning of an understanding of that new consciousness.
Yes.
And a lot of it has to do with aligning yourself. A lot of it has to do with meditating, because meditation is to get to know. I mean, to look at, to get to know. That's what meditation means. And people are like, think they have, when they get to meditate, that they have to get mindless. Not at all. I mean, you do want that mind kind of shoved out of the way, but it's a greater awareness than you can just have by boxing something into the thoughts you can have.
So what are other things people will notice when they start to step into the 4D? Oh, and another thing we wanted to clarify before we go any further is that 4D isn't, or 5D is not another, you don't wake up and the sky is purple and the grass is pink. You're still here. It's how you understand things. That's the ascension we're talking about, right? How you understand, how you feel, how you comprehend, how you make decisions. It's not about you wake up and everything physically looks different.
No, to me, it's like, it's an awakening of your consciousness where you've had the stuff that's, well, I've lost 100 pounds, so I can testify to this. You lose 100 pounds and the world is a lighter, less dense place.
Yes.
But it's like that. It's like your mind is losing weight. The things that you wake up to that your go-to patterns, you start ditching them. You start waking up and seeing alternatives, different ways of doing things. One of the articles I went through yesterday when I was looking up, trying to get some more updated information, what's out there right now, it was that when you can look at a situation and do it from your own values and none of those thought values from your past come in. Like, you think, I'm going to go down and I'm going to join this group because it sounds interesting to me. And then all those voices, you don't know that part of town. You have to take a friend.
Right, right.
These aren't your people, really. They're going to reject you. And I can tell you from a person that used to run events trying to get people more interested in new ideas, trust me, if you show up and you're eager to learn, man, those people become your best friends. I mean, all of the things we tell ourselves. And what I learned to do, and this was part of the healing I had to do so I could lose the weight, was all those voices that told me that I had to build a fortress of fat so people could get past it. And if they got past it, then they could be my friend. Was because when I was skinny and pretty and young, some people got past, there was no fortress, and things that happened that were reaffirmed what I'd been told as a young woman. You know, if you go there, this is going to happen. Don't assert yourself, this is going to happen. And mind you, I'm a child of the 50s, guys. So 50s and 60s. That's my childhood part. So Andrea's right. It's not, I kept thinking we're like going to get in an elevator, we're going to ride a train, we're going to go from Lockport to Joliet. I mean, I didn't know where we were going.
Right.
But, and nobody, unless you're in Joliet or Lockport, you don't know where the hell those are. But it's not like that. It's something you carry with you all the time. And the first little bright lights, you're going to reach out and say, oh, but I want that, I want that, I want that. But what happened was you relaxed from wanting, needing, being grasping, thinking of things as scarce. You tripped into a point where they weren't, or the angels led you there. And what you have to do when you get to those points, and this is what I'm finding out with where I am right now, I have to go back into the joy of being at that point instead of saying, oh, I'm there, because there is no there. The there is what you carry with you. Does that make sense?
And as you move and ascend, like you said, things that you used to resonate with, like maybe you watch the news every morning, you're like, I don't want to do that, doesn't feel right anymore. Or it might be someone in your life or your job. You're like, I don't resonate with this anymore. It doesn't feel right. Nothing else has changed, right? It's the same job you've been going to all along, but all of a sudden it doesn't feel right. It's not answering your true calling or whatever it is that you are starting
Your
to.
passion, your joy.
Yeah. And again, we're all on different levels. So we're going through ascension, but that doesn't mean we're all in the same elevator or on the same floor or, you know.
Yeah. And the frustrating part is I can't reach back and pull friends up.
Correct.
I can tell them how, and the problem is there's nothing as frustrating to a person who's solidly in 3D as to hear how serene you are. They don't want to know that. Their paradigm is life is difficult. Everybody's out to screw me. And mind you, people, I had that world in spades. I was in politics. And you want to talk about the ultimate duality of life. And it doesn't mean you can't achieve good things there, but they certainly work as hard as they can. That's why I always tell people to work on issues and ideas that make them feel comfortable and safe. And if you put your energy into those things, you help build the energy. It's like there are a lot of people, I think, that were really heading into 4D after the last election. You know, this is gone, this nightmare is gone. And I think there was a lot of really positive, powerful energy. And for each of us that think those things every day and just don't think them, but feel them every day, feel that the light's going out and it's getting better.
Yeah.
That we got really strong and a whole bunch of stuff moved pretty quickly. And, you know, all of a sudden, you know, close to 70% of Americans and Canadians are now getting their vaccines. Whoop, whoop. You know, you started to see really good things happen, but then you had the duality of that because news people are all in the 3D world. And, you know, you saw the duality of the other people. And that's why I have a friend whose sister, she said, I told her not to call me anymore because her sister went QAnon. And she said, I can't listen to it. Yeah. And I said, don't. That's the problem. If you go in there and try to, quote, save them, that means you're tying into the duality of that world that there's a one side or the other. Let them find their own path, just like you have to find your own path. You can come to me and I can give you a reading. And I can tell you past lives, what patterns were set up for you. But there still is that pesky little bit of free will. But do I really want to solve this lifetime, or I'm just happy with it, you know?
So you can send people links to videos or send them an article to read on Ascension if you want. But again, it is there. Everyone's on their own timeline. And some people may not ascend very much in this particular life. That's just the way it's going to be.
And the other thing is, if you're in an ascension state, there will be days that are just glowing. And what I do is I keep a record of those things because that's the easiest. When I read, that's still the easiest thing. If I can relate to where I was with something and bring it to that person and see if what I'm seeing in them is true. But there was one Sunday afternoon where my son and my daughter and I sat down. We started plotting a new future we're working on and some new products we're working on. And the whole room around us just glowed. And I just reveled in us. I mean, we don't have contentious conversations. We have lovely conversations. We talk about things that happen around them all the time that are not necessarily negative. Sometimes I do listen to their coworkers because I understand that world. But that Sunday afternoon, I just sat back in my chair and I said, this is joyous. This is blissful. We're all on the same page. We're talking about something that's absolutely wonderful. It was purely coming out of some 5D work I was doing. And I was bringing back in through 4D. And they were sensing it too. And they were just like, you know, they both said, this was such a delightful Sunday afternoon. No sports on the TV. No, unfortunately, YouTube readers on the TV. I mean, not just us in the room looking at a future that was just glowing and bright. And out of that one day came 3 or 4 more ideas that we're combinedly working on. And, yesterday my son they had caught someone catfishing where he works, which is, you know what that is? Where someone said, yeah. And he's in charge of computer security. And they're like, how did this happen? And he said, you hired the guy and then you didn't look to see if he was the same guy and he was working remotely. He said, I can't help you with that, but that's a real 3D moment in our house.
But the moment the afternoon with your kids,
the afternoon with my kids is the one you want to hold on to. That's the one
yeah, you guys were in your flow, you were all connected,
right.
You were all resonated on a higher
we weren't, none of our canoes were paddling upstream saying, but no, if, and I try to wake up. And when I wake up in the days when I don't particularly want to see the sunshine in Texas, I will go back to, I sort of bottled a little bit of the feeling from that day and I pull that in and it starts the day moving again. So that's what you do. You learn in bits and pieces. I'm going to tell you, I've been talking with angels for a long time. And I did not talk personally to my guide, Addie, till I was 68. And I went to a thing and I knew people had guides. I have a whole story about how there's a whole lot of new age stuff that I call it new age SHIT. And I would not fall for it. I wanted to see how it worked. And eventually the universe would come and go, womp, it's real. We gave you the word, you didn't fall. But
we all kind of know what 3D is. That's our everyday experience for the general population. Let's talk about 4. What does it feel like? What starts to happen? Maybe your own experiences, and even 5. So I don't know how many dimensions there are. I'm sure there's quite a few, but 4 and 5 are the most relevant for our collective group here on the planet at this time.
They're the most approachable.
Yeah. So what does 4 kind of feel like? What are some signs or?
Okay, ringing in your ears. And I got ringing in my ears and they thought it was the artifact of surgery, but it ends up that now is when I'm closer and closer to being in 5D and 4D, it goes away. When I get into it, like I was watching the news last night and I had to turn it off because my ears are going, wow, wow, wow. This is discordant energetically. Now, mind you, they went in and they found a physical reason for my ringing. I had a bad blood pressure my first pregnancy, which was 45 years ago. And I apparently had a small stroke on that nerve. And the doctor said, I can't figure out why you didn't have this before now. But so there's nothing they can really do except some biofeedback maybe could help. But I heard in my head, no, it's not biofeedback. And that, yeah, that stroke's there and it's been there and that's not what it is either. That's the universe trying to get your attention.
Yes. So you will start to notice things. It could be something like ringing in your ears. It could be seeing something repetitively. It could be an animal, like someone, I was reading for someone, they said a hummingbird kept showing up and eventually came right into their face. Like these are signs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vivid dreams.
Vivid dreams is another one. Absolutely.
And how many people have you read, Andrea, in the last year that are just fatigued? I mean, they just feel like no matter how much rest they get, no matter how calm things get, that they just have periods of total fatigue. And that's because you're fighting the level you should be at. You're spending all that mental energy. So look where your body's tight. Headaches. I don't get headaches, but I know a lot of people who get them. Headaches are a sign. Your body dehydrates quickly. And when you're on keto, you do that anyway. So I drink gallons of water every day. And then the other one that got to me, and Andrea knows my experience, I got dizziness. I actually had some dizziness and my heart rate went way, way, way high. And they checked me out and they said, no, actually, there's nothing physically there, but that dizziness is chakra shifting. Because when you go into the different dimensions, people who know a lot more about this than I do, or they're really selling good stuff on the side. They tell me that our chakras align a little differently in each of the dimensions. But if you're aligned the way that they tell you to, you're really close to 4D. So that can help you a lot. Flickering vision is one. Tingling in your body. You'll hear readers talk about, oh, that gives me tingles. I know Intuitive Kim speaks about that all the time. And your appetite really changes. What you see as looking good and how you eat and all that stuff. And Andrea did that a long time ago. You're a complete vegan?
Yeah, I've been a vegetarian since I was 17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and some of you will find out, man, that soy tempura looks good instead of killing a shrimp, you know? And temperature changes in your body. You might run hot. You might start to run cold.
Yeah.
And then this is the one that if nothing else makes people go to the trying for 4D, this will do it. Weight loss. So I read 4 different places. They said,
I wonder it's because you're probably, ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, let's
have
have
you're authentic. You're our authentic self, and therefore you don't need to emotionally eat or have that extra weight as protection, as you say, like a wall. I bet that's why. Oh, I got to get connected to that 4D.
That part of it.
Yeah.
Just say, I mean, and look at what part of your body wants you to overeat, and then understand how that ties you to 3D. Because when you cut that cord,
it's 3D beliefs
that you're tied to. It's your mind, it's your thoughts.
Yes.
Because this is a process of consciousness. And I tell people, don't live in your thoughts, live in your feelings.
So these are a collective of signs you may start to notice, right? So these are signs. Now, what are the results of being in the 4th? Like, so for example, you start to realize that, you're part of everything.
Right.
There's no you, me, them, that side, this side, Republican, Democrat, everything is one.
Right. There's that kind of oneness. And then there's just, you start feeling the world instead of thinking the world. Because thinking the world has, to me, when I approach that in my mind, thinking the world implies to me 10 commandments, a bunch of rules. I mean, you have to take what you're looking at and see which slot it fits in. It's a slotless world. I mean, it's just this open place where energy can come towards you. I remember when I was in school, I got in trouble because we were discussing the nature of time. This was schools in the 1950s, guys. And this teacher was like trying to teach us about a timeline. That time is linear. And I went right to Einstein. No, it's relative. And I kept saying, she said, well, how do you see time? You know, there was yesterday, there's going to be tomorrow. I thought that was kind of, considering I grew up and the kids that all had polio, that's kind of presumption. We didn't know there was going to be a tomorrow.
My goodness.
Really, truly. I said, no, I see time as this giant ball. And she said, no, time is never viewed as a ball. And when I finally saw some documentaries on Einstein, when they were talking about it, it was like a ball but what I've always believed about time was I could reach out and grab parts of time and bring them in and understand them by feeling them, not because logically or anything you can graph out. You
can feel it. You can connect to it.
Right. You can connect to it.
Yes.
And each time you get a connection, remember that feeling. Don't remember even the thought process that got you there. Remember that feeling. Put that feeling in your heart and say, bring some friends.
Because you can tap into that feeling. Like I know Scott and I read on the Big Bang Theory, or when I tapped right into source, I was blissing out. Like I didn't even know what was going on. And if I want to, I can go back and remember that and feel that. I kind of told you today before we started the show, it's kind of like, as in a vibe. I think
Mhm.
we are supposed to be doing this conversation.
Right.
Yes. I can
Yes.
feel it. So 4D, you start realizing you're connected to everything.
Mhm.
Again, you may start to pull away from people or situations or
Mhm.
routines that no longer serve you because it doesn't make sense to your new vibration. And people might say, oh, you've changed. Well, yeah, I am changing. Yes. And
Mhm.
maybe these things don't resonate anymore. And that's okay.
Because the universe, see, but people think like if I change, then I won't have what I have. So that's going back to scarcity. If you change, trust me, I'm 72 years old at my most desperate points. And I said, why is all this leading to this?
Yeah.
It always was leading to something better. And, you just have to be ready to not just grab the next thing that comes by, but to feel what is the next right thing to do.
And yeah, and things like, having the best watch or the best car or striving for these
Mhm.
3D uh, goals or this 3D false sense of what matters isn't going to matter to you anymore. And I think the last year with everyone staying home and not having to be in rush hour all the time and that daily grind and trying to get more and more and more so they have like I say the best watch or whatever. I think people's values, not everyone, but a
Mhm.
lot of people had a time in the last year to reflect and see what is valuable to them. And I think that's part of the ascension. It's a personal thing to ascend, but
Mhm.
the earth and your circumstances are also helping.
Ascending, right.
Yes. So the earth itself is going through a change. And then by default, us as guests of earth are going to go through that too, because she's changing.
Yes. And letting things go is because and I know this is one of those things, the meme you see on Facebook or YouTube and things all the time. Letting things go, if you're supposed to have it, it'll come back. But that's really true.
Yeah.
You just have to say, this is how the universe works right now for us, and this is where we are. And because trying to hold on to someone who shouldn't be there, and giving up your higher vibrations for to try and lift someone else's vibrations up who doesn't want to lift, you got to understand vibrations are totally a personal thing. It's nothing I can't give it to my kids. I can't give it to my friends, my fellow readers. I can't even give it to a client who says, oh, but I want to be where you are. Well, first of all, if they knew how I got there, they probably wouldn't think that. But the other part of it is they can't be where I am because they're not me. We're all unique. And I think sometimes that scares people because they want to feel like they're part of the group or they blend in or being unique is scary. Being unique is absolutely marvelous and totally true. Nobody else said, unless you have a twin, nobody else has your DNA.
Exactly. Celebrate who you are.
Mhm.
Celebrate everything about yourself. You don't have to fit into a false narrative of 3D of what the playbook is. Like you're supposed to be
Mhm.
married at a certain time and have kids or have a certain job or drive a certain car or whatever. Like celebrate you.
And all the looking back at what has or has not happened is not going to change where where you can start to change that is when you change your own vibration.
Yes.
I think maybe we ought to talk about what is projected or what people are saying is in 5D, because then we can kind of look at 3D and say 4D is integrating these things in and how do they make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
4D is kind of the in between where okay, so 5D. Yeah.
5D. Okay. 5D.
Talk about 5D.
5D is soul-based identity. In other words, it's not the ego, but it's the soul. And the soul goes outside and beyond the physical form. Unity consciousness, unconditional love. You believe you co-create your reality. You believe that your thoughts form the reality that's around you. Believing is seeing, intuitive thinking. And this is one I just love. Man, I've been a 5D forever because I've never been a rational, logical thinker. Seeing only the one force, and I was always acting towards your highest goal. Don't see things as duplicitous, but see that we're all moving, even though we're taking very different paths, that we're helping move towards a certain goal. Higher energy and sometimes instant manifestations, you know? And I remember the first time I heard someone talking about the secret and manifesting stuff. That was another one of my giant went across my screen BS. But when I looked at it, you know, I started to understand some of what they were talking about. But I didn't want to manifest in physical or fiscal or physical things. I wanted to manifest in peace and quiet. And of course, I was the mother of 2 toddlers at the time. Heart rules. Heart is the center, not mind-centered, heart-centered. And like I said, it's called Heart Math. It's a YouTube show. You can look it up on YouTube.
Math?
Heart Math, M-A-T-H. I'll send you the
Heart
thing.
Math.
So you just
Okay. Heart
Math. It's a wonderful show about how it talks about the change in the Schumann resonance, but also about how all of our hearts are synchronized. It's really man believes in divine order. Everything happens for the highest good, and you have an abundance mindset. So if you got a piece of pie, you vision that that pie is going to grow again, and everybody else is going to have a piece too.
That's something I've practiced my whole life without realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
I never worried. I mean, obviously sometimes, but I never worried. And I really put that into practice last year when I lost my job.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's 2 roads you can go down. You can sit and stress, or you can trust,
Mm-hmm.
which is the abundance. Like, I don't have to worry, you know. And that's the road I chose. I really leaned into that. It was wonderful, and everything worked out. And
yeah, I know. That's how I met you, because you were unemployed.
Yes. And it all worked out. And I could have spent months worrying. We've all done that, but you want to project good things forward so that you step into that.
I always looked upon unemployment as an opportunity to go find something better than where I was.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I got fired from a showroom once because I didn't understand the guy, but he was high on cocaine when he threw me out. And I mean, he just came in and said, "Everybody out here." And we're like, "Oh, okay, fine." And I went down the hall and talked to a friend of mine who was in another showroom. She said, "I have a friend who runs an employment agency," went there and ended up working for them as a temporary all over the place, and just found out about all kinds of fun stuff, which was so much more fun than sitting in that showroom putting up with a person who's apparently
has some troubles. Yeah.
Getting out of line.
So yeah, think about things as opportunities coming your way. Again, so being fear-based is 3D vibration.
Right.
So yeah. You don't want to project that kind of stuff forward. You want to be in the 4 or 5D where you can feel connected and safe and love and abundance. It just feels so wonderful to say that.
Well, it does when you see things that come forward, like the 5D trips I was making to create my divination tool, the garden. It was coming out of literally coming out of nowhere. It's coming out of 5D energy. But I have never taken a product and the only products I've ever developed were people. I used to run political campaigns, but I've never gotten a candidate together as fast as I've gotten my stuff together. And that doesn't mean I don't hit real world problems. Trust me. The little people in Montreal are slowing up a little bit. And so I'm like, pedal faster, but not to blame Canadians, but they have to they do a beautiful job. So I want it to look right. But
let's tap into that for a second about big ideas or things that are overwhelming. So people like Tesla and I think Einstein and some others, big guys, big shots have said that they didn't really come up with it. It was just there and they downloaded it. And I would say the same for me and the deck of cards that I made. This literally was a download. I didn't invent every card per se. I saw it all appear in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and say, when you're talking about your oracle garden and everything else you've come up with, I think these are 5, and I think it's 5D downloads more than 4D.
Yes.
I
Oh
think
yeah,
it's 5D because
definitely. I've been told, that's why I was told about, I had the blessings of a master who's living on the earth, someone who's very good at guiding people. He went up to see, he talks to the masters for me, because I guess I don't like them much. I guess I sort of, when I picture the masters up running the universe, I just sort of see the Mad Hatter's Tea Party, and they're having a wonderful time, and we're just gonna everyone. And he said that they told him, you could be up there with them. You've had that many lifetimes, but you chose to come back because you just love people so much. You love humanity. You love the flesh and
you said
earth.
you're addicted to humanity.
I'm addicted to humanity.
I think that's so sweet. And I don't think you don't like the masters. What I think is, I think you kind of, I mean, this is my interpretation or vibration I just got, is that you wish that some of them would come back down and help. It's yeah. I think that's what you're feeling.
Well, because one of the functions of being in 5D, besides what we read, with each level, at 3D, you're totally engaged with other people all the time. And whether even if it's rejecting them, your energy is totally engaged with that. When you get in 4D right now, it's like, I've had some things come up, and I was like, things that would have made me scream around the house. I got up yesterday early, 6 a.m, to watch a new moon solar eclipse ceremony that this one person promised, only to have them dither for 5 minutes and say, oh my God, we can't really get the live to work, so we're coming back at 11:45, join me then. And I'm like, you woke my old bones up so I could watch you dither.
So that's a 3D thought.
That was the 3. And then I just went back and went right to bed. If I'd really stayed in 3D, I'd been rolling around screaming BITCH at that woman all morning. But her heart was in the right place.
Yes, of course.
And you and I know, working with technology, God, it's a crapshoot.
So with 5D, if you get a big download, big ideas, things that you just kind of pull from the ether, that's you connecting to 5D. And that might appear in a dream, or you might just be sitting under a tree one day and go, boop, and totally invent something. And
what you do is you hold on to it, and you don't, when you start having those voices that we learned as a child, oh, you can't know that can't be true, that won't work, you just tell them, let's give it a shot. I mean, don't even say you're totally wrong, because then you're engaging with them in duality. Just say, let's give it a shot.
Let's just try it. Can we just try it this way? Yep.
It's like, this is,
and I think those big ideas that come from 5D, I have a feeling, what do you think, is that those ideas are ones that are for the advancement and the betterment for everyone.
Yes.
So you don't get a 5 idea per se just for yourself. I mean, maybe, but I think, like my cards, I didn't realize at the time that it was for a bigger purpose.
Well, everybody who's seen you read them knows it is, but I know. But when you're in the process of doing this, it's like one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
And what's been a miracle for me is I'm not doing this on my own. I have an incredible graphic artist who came up with the graphics I've had. My son lives walking distance from an incredible mineral store where we can get the stones and things we need. I have had help just show up, just people just literally just show up in my life and say, well, how can I help you do this? And so I think the garden, the first part of it was in mid to late February, and I had the prototypes the 1st of May.
Yeah. So you got the idea from the 5th dimension.
And then I said, okay, how do I make it?
And then people were drawn, people of the like mind, like energy, like vibration were drawn into that to help you, right?
That's
like,
right.
Because it's for something bigger. It's for the, getting goosebumps. It's for the
yes,
greater good. And same with like Tesla, his ideas were to, free energy for everyone, which was for the greater good. So that kind of, it's quite magical and exciting. And I think I'm
And
gonna
you know, and if you're the person that can think of free energy, my house is available for a test run. I have a quote I found this morning, and when I wake up in the morning, I'll kind of flash through and I'll find quotes. And this said, if you look at what you have in life, you will always have more. If you look at what you don't have in life, there'll never be enough. And that's from Oprah Winfrey, Saint Oprah of the talk shows.
Saint Oprah, yes.
But it's true. If you look at what you have and build, and it just builds from there. But if you're always looking back at what you don't have, that's dealing in scarcity and lack. It's not going to be there. And that's kind of where people can start, if no other point.
Yeah.
Talking about ascension and
shifting your perception, how you talk to yourself internally, what you say externally. The glass is half full.
Right.
Mentality, right?
Right.
I have everything I need and I am grateful.
Right.
You can start there.
We're almost an hour, sweetie. Andrea and I can go on. We could be here.
We can talk forever.
We could be through your whole weekend and you're going, those two.
Well, you know what? When we do another episode, you know what?
We will. Well, that's what I was going to suggest.
Right? Yeah.
Is what is your questions? What are your reflections? What have you found works for you? What have you found can spin you into 3D faster than anything you want that we can imagine? And, you know, we'll maybe do a live. I can do I'm working on building a live I can do through this, the way I live, because when I live, I can have two cameras, so I can hope that we'll do a live.
Yeah, so put your questions below or your experiences moving from 3D to 4 or 5, whatever you want us to talk about. We can do a live show. I think it's fascinating. It's an ongoing thing. So yeah, it's not just one conversation. It's not one and done.
Oh no, and that's a throw in my garden. But the other part of it I'd like to say is, you know, I love to talk to people about moving their lives forward. I love to talk to them. And I found when I was looking at the 3D, 4D, and 5D, I told Andrea when I looked at it kind of as a whole, because I just kind of dashed through like what you're hearing now.
Yeah.
I could write out a timeline from 2016 to now of all the ahas and the oh my gods and the okay, you kept pushing me. I mean, just fascinating things. And some of them were so subtle, I just could have totally have missed them. I just have very stubborn guides who don't let me miss them. But you need to kind of say, okay, I really want to know about this. I really want to be open to it. And if you don't, you don't. I mean, that's fine. It's just not your time to do this yet. You may be a mother with toddlers sitting at home trying to figure out how to get through from here to there. But you can grasp on, there are things that were happening to me then that were leading me to the people I needed to.
Yeah, you might hear something now that you know, percolates and resonates with you later.
Right. And it helps break down those 3D things. Because I now I can tell you, and I hate it when people guru on people, but from sitting and being a 4D world to not wake up in the conflicts I woke up in every day for years is a miracle. I mean, it's just wonderful. And lately, people are starting to decide if they're going to run in 2 years. So my son and I are getting a lot of calls from people, and they don't like no for an answer. But I cannot go back in that conflicted world. Yes. I will give them a few words of wisdom about how to draw and use their energy positively, but it's not, and you have to learn to set up those parameters for yourself. This isn't a safe place for me to go.
Because it doesn't feel good anymore. It doesn't, it feels.
I want to go where I feel good. I want to go where
I'm
not feeling judged every minute or having to judge every minute.
And 4D feels great. 5D feels great.
Yeah. And there is a difference in your own mindset. And I guess if old me was looking at 4D me, 3D Nancy was looking at 4D Nancy, she'd say, why aren't you a snotty BITCH sitting there spouting all this stuff? But, you know, in a way, yeah, I am. But the part of it is you'll never know if someone can speak from their own experience. If people had reached out to me and told me how they live with their experiences and how they use their gifts, I never would have been the intuitive I am. And so, and I didn't look upon that like this, although at the time people would tell me things and I'm going, yeah, fine, that's sure, that's good for you. But, whenever you hear the word but, there's two words I think should be banished from our language: but and try. Oh, but I'm trying. No, trying isn't doing. If you put doing in the place of trying, you can. So that's my snotty from on high mountain.
Well, yeah, you like you said earlier, you can't pull someone from 3D to 4D. It's their journey.
Mhm.
And you can lead by example, though.
Yeah, and just and if they want to follow, that's their prerogative. That's their free will.
All right. So this is an excellent chat. Thank you so much. I can't wait for the next one. And I love that your phone ringing is like, is that the Bewitched?
Yeah, it is. That's my notifications. Yeah, this is a time of day when I get all my news about what I need to handle for the rest of the day. So if I don't do that, then I'll think nobody wants to talk. The other day I turned my ringer off and I thought, God, it's peaceful today. I should do that more often. And then I look and there's like 4 phone calls from my kids and what are we doing for dinner? And
all right, everyone, have a wonderful day. Enjoy your ascension. Embrace it.
if you find a spark of joy today, gather it in, put some kindling around it, and turn it into a flame. Okay? Bye.